Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jose Santiago. I'm the administrator here with the Glendale Police Department. We're here to talk about the arrest of two individuals and their horrific treatment of their children. These children were living in deplorable conditions that were basically, they were treated like animals. And in many cases, I will tell you that people treat their animals way better than these children were treated. I cannot even begin to describe the conditions that these children were kept in for years. And it was the good work of a passerby that led to this arrest. And with that, I'm going to bring forward Sergeant Brian Hoskin to give you the details.
Thank you, Jose. All right, Sergeant Brian Hoskin, B-R-Y-A-N-H-O-S-K-I-N. Good afternoon. I'm Brian Hoskin, Public Information Sergeant here at the Glendale Police Department. We're here today to provide you information regarding a deeply disturbing child abuse investigation that our officers responded to on Thursday, January 29th at about 1:38 p.m. at an apartment complex in South Glendale. How this all began. So police were called after a concerned citizen observed a naked child through an apartment window as he was doing some work in the area. The caller stated that they were familiar with the area and had never seen children at that residence before, prompting them to request a welfare check with the Glendale Police Department. That call was critical, and we want to emphasize how important it is for community members to report concerns like this to the police departments. When officers arrived, they made contact with Sarah Jackson, 36-year-old female. During the welfare check, officers located two young boys, aged 4 and 6, inside the apartment. The children were found in extremely unsanitary conditions and showed signs of significant developmental delays. One child was nonverbal and the other was minimally verbal. Officers also immediately noticed a strong odor consistent with feces and urine coming from the residence. As officers continued their investigation, they observed severe and hazardous living conditions throughout the apartment. Detectives documented the following in some of their reports: widespread feces contamination on floors, walls, ceilings, and bedding, unsafe electrical conditions with exposed wiring, large piles of belongings restricting movement inside the apartment, and insect infestations. There was also a bucket containing contaminated water in the bathroom. Officers also located multiple firearms inside the residence, including a handgun found near where the children were sleeping. While the firearms were not actively being used, their placement raised serious safety concerns. Now I'm going to go over some information during some of the interviews that we received. Detectives, when speaking with Sarah Jackson, stated that the children had not been to see a doctor since birth. And again, these children are ages 4 and 6. Arthur Jackson, the father of these children, who also lives at the apartment with the mother, he's age 41, and he later confirmed the children had not received medical care in years and had never attended school or any formal education. Ultimately, both children were taken for medical evaluation and at this time have been medically cleared with no major immediate health concerns. They have since been placed into the custody of Department of Child Safety, where they will receive continued care and services. Both Sarah Jackson and Arthur Jackson were arrested. Each has been charged with 2 counts of child abuse, violation of Arizona Law 133623B1. Those are Class 4 felonies. Both suspects, the last I checked, are remain in custody and are being held on a $25,000 bond. So in closing, this is an extremely difficult case involving young children who were unable to protect themselves. We are grateful to the community member who spoke up to our officers and our officers who investigated, who worked quickly to ensure these children are now in a safe environment. At this point now, if you have any questions, we'll try to answer those for you. Yeah.
Has police ever been to that apartment, or are you aware if TCS has ever been?
From what I read in any of the reports, there was no prior history at this time that I'm aware of.
How long do you think these living conditions were going on for?
From what I read, they moved into this specific apartment in about 2023 during the interview with Arthur. Since then, they lived in another apartment in Glendale at a different location. unknown if it was similar conditions at both locations, but at least they've been at this location since 2023. And this individual who was familiar with the area, with that apartment, with that family, or I should say the parents, that's all that they've saw since the time they'd been there.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on how important it is to speak up when you see something that seems out of the ordinary?
Yeah, so we're always open to working with our community partners. Obviously, that's everybody who's in our community. We need your help in order to do our job because we can't be everywhere at once. We don't have eyes everywhere, and we need that assistance for people to point out these types of things to us. Again, we have non-emergency numbers that you can call if you don't feel that it's necessary to call 911. We will take those calls. We take all of those calls seriously, and they will go into a queue and prioritize. They get prioritized from 1 to 4, 1 being most serious types of crimes that we need to respond to immediately, down to 4, which can sit and wait potentially for some time. We try to get to those within 15 to 30 minutes at most, in most cases. But our dispatchers will prioritize those cases, so don't feel like anybody out there, don't feel like they are bothering us with something that may be nothing. That's for us to determine. We'd rather come out there and it be nothing than it be something and somebody doesn't report it.
Piggybacking on that, have any neighbors been interviewed since? And was the man who first called the police, was he a resident of this complex or just someone who lived in the area?
The individual who called is just from the area. I don't have any information that he actually lived on the property. As well as of right now and as of what we have, nobody else in the area has been interviewed. That is something that detectives may be continuing to do in their investigation. That detective who's the lead on this case is actually not in today, so I didn't get a chance to speak to him this morning or this afternoon. But that's some good follow-up questions that we can ask him tomorrow.
We've seen the pictures. What precautions do officers take when they're going into situations like this?
So it could be kind of risky. Obviously, first responders, the ones who initially get there, sometimes don't have the time to put on their protective gear before they have to rush into a situation like that. It's always recommended. We have health and safety officers that's just their job within the departments that always try to make sure that we have the equipment we need, gloves, booties, suits if we need to. But like you know, booties and gloves may be a situation that they can put on in this situation, seeing that they were able to retrieve both children. But at the same time, I know at this instance, officers weren't able to do that. They had to go in, and there's just some descriptive information in some of the reports where their boots were sticking to the ground, and it's just kind of whatever was smashed into the carpet and the ground, because they had to make sure that there was nobody else in danger in that house. And sometimes we have to put ourselves at risk in order to save someone's life or to make sure that someone's taken care of like that.
Can you kind of go into a little bit more detail about what the conditions were?
You just, like I said in here, just stuff piled up everywhere, little walkways around the apartment. I think some people may classify it as like maybe something of a hoarder type stuff piled up where you had to kind of walk your way around into the apartment, as you can see in some of the pictures. Just horrible living conditions, something that you wouldn't even wish on your worst enemy. And as Jose said earlier, you know, people won't even put pets, people won't even put animals that they're raising in conditions like this. And outdoors in a barn could be better conditions than what we saw in this apartment.
Were there any signs of physical abuse as well as the obvious signs of neglect?
No, I read about that, and the detective did some follow-up with the medical facility that they were transported to, and they confirmed that they didn't see any physical abuse, any signs of physical abuse to the children. But they were medically cleared on that aspect, and there was no evidence of that. Okay. Thank you.
It's important to note that these children were kept almost in a caged environment. You have all received these photos. These parents used child safety gates and created a barrier that caged the children up in a bedroom environment. Although they were supplying food to the children had no direct access to a bathroom and never had direct access to a bathroom. So the children were living in their own waste, even though they were still being supplied food. Again, the conditions here were so deplorable that our officers were quite in shock when they arrived on the scene and did everything that they could to not only get these children into a safe environment. There was a family pet that was living there as well. That family pet has also been taken from this environment, and it appeared that the family pet was actually treated better than these children were in this environment, just to give you an idea of the treatment that these parents were receiving, or giving, I should say, to their children. And something else that, just personally speaking, that was quite shocking was these parents showed really no signs of any kind of remorse or any kind of shock when our officers arrived. They basically acted as if this was just a normal activity, and no sign of remorse or any kind of shock. So again, as Brian mentioned earlier, this is really an opportunity for folks, when you see something, to please say something. It was this Good Samaritan passing by that noticed something peculiar that got these children out of harm's way, and hopefully will get them the help that they need. So we thank you guys for your time and for the coverage on all of this.